In the mid-14th century BCE, the Near East had many distinct civilizations. This period was known as the Amarna period. These Bronze Age states vied for power through war, trade, and diplomacy, seeking to outmaneuver their rivals with political dealings. Among the most effective political tools was marriage, often used to safeguard diplomatic agreements, and one which Egypt used to great effect throughout its ancient history. To understand the nature of these marriages, we have to explore why they were necessary within the context of the geopolitics of the time. Egypt under the pharaoh Amenhotep III, and later Akhenaten, his son, was one of the wealthiest and most influential empires of the region. To the north, the Mitanni controlled much of Syria and were an important trading partner, but also a former military rival. The Hittites were a rising power at the time and would engage in many conflicts with the Egyptian as their power rose. Babylon, once an ally of Egypt, sought to maintain its own standing as the oldest recorded civilization in the region. Meanwhile, caught in the middle was Canaan and the Levant city-states which struggled to navigate the shifting tides of power caught in this buffer zone. The political situation was one of a melting pot, as each of these powerful nations changed allegiances and made dealings with each other. In the late Bronze Age world, marriage was much more than just a personal union. It was a statement of alliance, a tool of negotiation, and a means of securing peace. We are fortunate enough to have a record of these alliances, today known as the Amarna letters. Through this collection of diplomatic correspondence, we are provided with a rare glimpse into how these marriages were arranged, what was expected, and how they shaped the politics of the time. Much of our understanding of Bronze Age diplomatic marriages comes from the remarkable discovery of these letters. In 1887, local Egyptians digging for fertile soil near Tel Amarna uncovered the first clay tablets. They were later secretly sold at the local antiquities market. These tablets were later recognised as part of the famous Amarna letters and sparked an interest in the ancient Egyptian world. The first archaeologist to officially document the site was Sir Flinders Petrie, who began excavation efforts shortly thereafter in 1891. Over the years, archaeological work and efforts to recover the sold tablets have continued, and to date, a total of 382 clay tablets have been recovered, providing invaluable insight into the diplomatic history of the ancient Near East. The most important aspect of these relics is that they are not inscribed in hieroglyphs or in Demotic script. They are actually inscribed in cuneiform. These documents were written in Akkadian, the lingua franca of the Bronze Age, and contain royal correspondence from the courts of Amenhotep III and Akhenaten. These letters were exchanged between Egypt and the rulers of the Alashaya, Azawa, the Mitanni, Babylon, the Hittites, and the Canaanites. They provide an unparalleled look at the complexities of international relations in the late Bronze Age. They reveal how alliances were forged, how disputes were settled, and how rulers negotiated the marriages of royal daughters to secure political stability. Preserved for over 3,000 years, these tablets serve as a direct link to a world where the fate of empires rested on the delicate balance of diplomacy. The archive of which the tablets were discovered was likely part of the Royal Diplomatic Center within the city of Amarna, where Egyptian scribes managed correspondence with foreign courts. These letters allow us to reconstruct how diplomacy and marriage were intertwined in the ancient world. At this important city, diplomatic correspondence played a central role in government. It is important to note that the city of Amarna was actually named Akhenaten during his reign. With the erasure of his history, we now have the name Amarna. The reason for this erasure was Akhenaten's attempts to change Egyptian society. He got rid of the established hierarchy of gods, only worshipping Aten, the sun disk. He also changed his name from Amenhotep IV to Akhenaten, which is why they attempted to erase so much of his history. The reigns of Amenhotep III and Akhenaten marked a period of intense diplomatic activity. Egypt stood at the centre of a vast network of alliances. As evident from their communication through the Amarna letters, it demonstrates the value of diplomacy in the ancient world, as well as the value of a royal princess. A king's daughter was not merely a member of the family, she was a symbol of alliance, a pledge of peace, and a representative of her homeland at a foreign court. Marriages between royal families could prevent wars, reinforce treaties, and ensure mutual cooperation. The Amarna letters, named after Akhenaten's capital, offer a rare glimpse into ancient diplomacy. Egyptian scribes meticulously recorded international correspondence, revealing how kings negotiated alliances, trade, and most crucially, royal marriages. The letters show us how kings communicated across vast distances, relying on envoys to carry messages that could take weeks or months to arrive. Marriage requests were a long diplomatic process that had to be carefully coordinated. An example of a proposal of marriage is found on the tablet EA2, from Kadasman Enlil to Amenhotep III. He states, "With regards to my brothers writing me about marriage, saying, 'I desire your daughter. Why should you not marry her? My daughters are available, but their husbands must be a king or of royal blood. These are the only ones I accept for my daughters. No king has ever given his daughters to anyone not of royal blood. Your daughters are available. Why have you not given me one?'" In this instance, the Kassite king of Babylonia is proposing marriage only to a member of the ruling dynasty, being the pharaoh Amenhotep himself or his heir, as well as deriding him for not offering one of his own daughters for marriage. On the opposite side of the tablet, he sets out a price for this marriage. "Fine horses, 20 wooden chests of gold, worth 120 shekels. I send to you as your greeting gift. 60 shekels of lapis lazuli I send as the greeting gift of your sister, my wife." This demonstrates that marriage also served as an economic agreement, and failure to meet expectations could spark outrage. For example, in EA29, King Tushratta of the Mitanni angrily confronts Akhenaten about the marriage of his daughter. To summarize the extensive letter that covers a range of issues, Tushratta states, "You have taken my daughter as your wife, yet where is the gold you promised? When your father took my sister, he sent wagons laden with gifts. But you send empty words and hollow gifts. Is this how Egypt honors its kin? Do I need to speak to your mother about this?" This explosive complaint reveals how marriages were binding economic contracts. The dowry was not just a tribute, it was a public measure of the bride's value and her kingdom's standing. The letters also reveal the practicalities of such an arrangement. They discuss these dowries, the expectation of lavish gifts in return, and even disputes over the fulfillment of past agreements. They show that marriages were not merely ceremonial, they were carefully negotiated contracts filled with expectations and obligations. The Amarna letters also reveal tensions over these marriages and diplomatic discussions. In particular, the difficulties Akhenaten faced following in his father's legacy. In tablet EA11, the Babylonian king expresses frustration over how his daughters were treated compared to Mitanni princesses. Bunaburiash II of Babylon writes to Amenhotep III, expressing his frustration over the escort that was provided when transporting his daughter between kingdoms. With my daughter Haya, there are 5 chariots. Are you going to take her to you in 5 chariots? Should I in these circumstances allow her to be brought to you from my house? My neighbouring kings would say, they have transported the daughter of a great king to Egypt in 5 chariots. This quote is a demonstration of how mishandling matters of marriage and princesses could lead to diplomatic incidents. The mentioning of a neighbouring king is a reference to the Mitanni, who were gaining favour with the Egyptian court. Akhenaten, however, would manage to insult the Mitanni. He offended King Tushratta and was accused of sending poor quality gifts, for not paying a dowry, and not providing a bride that was agreed upon. Tushratta writes to Akhenaten in EA27. But my brother has not sent the solid gold statues that your father was going to send. You have sent plated ones of wood. Nor have you sent me goods that your father was going to send me, but you have reduced them greatly. This reveals the incompetency of Akhenaten's reign when it came to diplomacy and his complacency when dealing with his contemporaries. It also reveals the implications of mistreating a foreign princess, or not providing a payment equal to her perceived worth. The Amarna letters reveal that marriage was a long-term diplomatic strategy, often spanning from father to son. A foreign princess at the Egyptian court acted as a living treaty, ensuring relations between the two powers remained strong. They represented a personal extension of the king in their rival's court, binding them as brothers through blood. Although the Amarna period ended with the fall of Akhenaten's rule, the tradition of diplomatic marriage continued. Future Egyptian rulers, including Ramses II, married foreign princesses to maintain alliances, sealing a peace treaty with the Hittites. This practice extended across the ancient world, shaping the fate of kingdoms and influencing the political landscape for centuries. Even Egypt's own tradition of forging alliances with political marriages continued throughout the rest of its history, with its ending in the Ptolemaic period. Cleopatra taking Julius Caesar as her lover and Mark Antony as her consort in actions akin to marriage showed that Egypt continued to foster its relations with foreign powers through marriage. However, this union would be one that would end Egypt's independence as a kingdom. The Amarna letters give us a rare glimpse into the political nature of marriage in the ancient world. These unions were more than just love stories. They were carefully calculated alliances, shaping the fate of nations.